Hello, Internet. It's time for another Wednesday's serial. This time we'll be taking a look at three lovely lady characters, so strap in. First up is Spider-Woman number 1. You'll notice the font is of the retro variety, which was interesting touch. I don't know. But this is really just part of the whole Spider-Verse thing, which is as long as I plan on picking up the book, which is somewhat unfortunate, but I'm loving the Spider-Verse event. But on top of Spider-Woman, they're coming out with a female Gwen Stacy book, who's also in here, and a Silk book, who's also in here. So all the Spider ladies are here and kind of part of that. And the shame of this is something that Marvel does, and it's a Marvel sin. I've really only seen them do it. When they have big events, they launch books with characters as a way to get you interested in that character and then come along. But as a number 1 of the series, it does a really poor job of establishing the series, if you will, kind of the tone and thrust, which makes it a lot easier for people to jump off. Whereas a much more natural thing would be a tie-in book and just have more Spider-Verse whatever. And then after that's done, have the Spider-Woman book if you liked it, and then jump in, which is much more akin to how they used to introduce new characters, and that would actually get you interested. Look at pretty much any character that's survived. In a way, Spider-Man himself, when they initially introduced Spider-Woman as such, when they introduced Deadpool, when they introduced the Punisher, just any of these characters, they had some time in a book, and then they got their own spin when there was enough fan fever, if you will. But the book itself was really interesting. What's really cool is it kind of takes a look at how Spider-Woman is a really valuable asset amongst all these other Peter Parkers and the Otto Octavius and the Noir Spider-Man and whatnot, and her ability to kind of go to a darker place and not be all heart, but willing to do some stuff a little more on the edge. Not that she's the killing type, but she kind of has gone through wars. She did all the stuff with the Skrulls and the Secret Invasion and whatnot, and they kind of touch on that very lightly, but just as a way to say she's not Spider-Man. It's really kind of interesting, because as opposed to your like Batgirls or your Thor girls, although not so much as of recent, but she's Spider-Woman, but she really doesn't have that much to do with Spider-Man. Really, this is probably the first event where she's really tied in with that whole deal. Mostly she's been an Avengers character, and she's really only been tied to Spider-Man in name only. So it's kind of interesting to see this tie, which makes me more interested in the character because I never have been before. Partially because, I'm just going to say it, I hate her costume. It's atrocious. What's with the third eye thing? What's with the triangle boob thing to match it? Is it like supposed to be a third eye connection? It's eh. But yeah, this was a really interesting book. I'm gonna be excited to read the next few issues because it ties into the whole deal. And then, honestly, I would keep picking this book up except for the prohibitive price. So I'll read and trade or figure something out. But if you're looking for the Spider-Verse tie-in, you're probably getting this anyways. If you're looking for a new Spider book or a new female character book, I'd really recommend it starting on issue 4, because that's going to be the first issue where this book is really allowed to have its own breathing room. And I really hope the creative team stays on it. Hopeless has been able to do a lot of amazing stuff with different characters, and he keeps, unfortunately, getting like the B books, which just aren't surviving in today's comic standards. He has Land with him, who's doing good stuff. It's a well done book. It's a tie-in, whatever, but it's fun, and there you be. But it's hard to suggest to people that are looking for a Spider-Woman book to jump on just yet. So there you be. Next up is probably the other big one, because this is, in a way, a number 1 of its own. It's a new creative staff on Wonder Woman. 35 issues have been of a creative staff and kind of a standout of the new 52. And DC's done a better job promoting this issue than they ever did promoting the Azzarello Chang Wonder Woman run, which is a crime. this Finch on Finch book is atrocious, really, all the way through. They try to tie it into the previous run, which was something I was worried they weren't going to do, but the way that they do it really just sullies everything that's been put up before them, so that just kind of hurts. I gotta say, Obak, the colorist, is the only talent on this book. I guess the inker, I'll be honest, I don't know my inking that well. Probably did a fine job, whatever. But the pencils and design of characters, this cover I was worried about. Look at that. That's not Wonder Woman, that's Wonder Girl, and that sums up this issue. This cover tells you all you need to know. Shit. She's written in a way that shows that she's inexperienced. She doesn't know how to handle herself. And she's stressed because she's dealing with all this stuff and she's not dealing with anything. So, while she has all this personal stuff where I'm figuring out how to be the god of war, that's kind of already been dealt with and was a big part of the run we just finished. But, oh, now we're ditzy about it. Okay, Then she's worried about her mother, who's a statue, that's fair. That's part of the book. But the book doesn't really do about that. She just says she's worried about it because this whole book is her running off with the Justice League to deal with this problem. And it becomes like this Justice League problem, but she's at the center of it because this issue is just a lead to her jumping Swamp Thing because she assumes Swamp Thing's the problem even though she has no reason to, and based on intel she knows the Swamp Thing isn't like the enemy and would probably have respect for a creature of that stature, especially given her stature now. And they try to play it off like, why are you so angry? She's like, I'm worried about all these things. No, that's not Wonder Woman. To approach the situation with compassion first, and if she can't confirm it's the enemy and she doesn't really know, she wouldn't be jumping in. That's not Wonder Woman. That sounds like Wonder Girl. Again, and it's just, it's gross. And I've been reading Wonder Woman for a damn long time now, way since before the New 52, and this is the worst kickoff to a new creator doing Wonder Woman basically ever. This is nothing for DC to advertise. They should have brushed this under the rug. They really should have read this script and said, we can do better. We can do better. Because if this is what this is the sort of issue that everybody who hates the New 52 will be pointing to. This is the sort of garbage that gives DC a bad name. This is the sort of revolting, vile shit that makes people question why you read comic books. It's bad. It's really bad. I hate ragging on books. I hate people who continually rag on the same book. And I understand when you pick something up and you're trying it, you don't like it, fine, walk away. Great. Let me tell you, walk away. If you bought this issue, didn't read it yet, return it. Do something. Just stay away. Bad influence. Oh my gosh. But to counter what I said, in some ways, the New 52 is not garbage. DC is not a garbage publisher. They put out a lot of good stuff, just not everything's gold. It's a little sad when they take an icon and do it. But they're able to put out some fun books. And people who don't like Harley Quinn, I get it. It's not for everyone, but it's not a bad book. I enjoyed this issue. It's not the most high-minded stuff. It's a fun, rollicking space adventure thing with a lot of jokes peppered in, and it's not super high-minded, but it's fun, and it's trying to do something, and it does it well. That's sometimes all the bar we have to shoot for, man. It's good. And, it's rendered beautifully. There's a lot of weird turnarounds on this issue, and, It just makes for a fun comic that's doing a whole bunch of bizarre superhero stuff. That's some of the crazy stuff people like to talk about. It's just fun. Giant talking pizzas in space, intergalactic four-boobed women talking about Manos and an obvious tear on Marvel. Sometimes you just need that. And it's cool to see, especially amongst something like where Wonder Woman should be, or even where they're trying to portray it, and where something like Spider-Woman is, where we have all this stuff about women characters and how they should be represented and how they should be portrayed. It's kind of cool to see that the character that's kind of up and coming is Harley Quinn. She ain't ladylike. She's a fun character. She kind of happens to be a girl, and she tends to be more gross than most of the guy characters. And she's wholly unique right now and having a moment, and it's cool that that's one of the characters that's standing out right now. And I think that's the sort of thing we need from female characters, and less maybe endless spin-offs of, you know, popular male characters and terrible comics. We just need something fun. We need something good. Just aim for something and do it right. Sounds easy when you put it like that, right? I don't know. So, of course, there were a ton of other books, but I really kind of wanted to focus on the female characters for a bit, just across a week, to kind of create a cross-sample, because it's not only comics right now, but a whole bunch of things, but the whole female portrayal thing is a big issue, and people are talking about how we need more and more female characters, which is good. But I think it's important to recognize that every one of the characters I talked about tonight has been around for years, and that there's tons of other female characters that have come and gone, and they just haven't sold. And a lot of it's because either the good comics aren't getting the right attention because of stuff like Marvel pulling terrible ways to try to pull people into sales, female icon being poorly portrayed is going to drop your sales because no one wants to read a bad book. And then we finally get a light of DC figuring out the fucking formula. A good comic, female lead. That's how you get more female characters into comics. That's all. And I know good comics relative. It's not easy to just make a good comic. But the point is it's not a comic with a tie-in, or we need to make an icon, we need to have this talent that looks a certain way, but they don't necessarily have a vision, but we need the names. No, you need to have a good comic. That comes first. What makes a good comic isn't the name on the cover. What makes a good comic isn't the sales that push the comic into the spotlight that you need for it to stay around. But you need good comics. And what it should be is good comics rising through the chaff because people are talking about them positively. And guess who gets all the cover attention in a few months and is doing something right? So it's kind of nice to see that turnaround versus Spider-Girl of Year Past, or, you know, another crappy Wonder Girl book or whatever. That's my soapbox for the night. If you want to hear my opinion on any of the other comics this week, if it's one I bought, I'll let you know. If it's one I didn't buy, I can make up an opinion. Pretty easy. And yeah, catch you soon with another comic review.